Let's talk about his father, because the father is so fascinating. And the thing that I find so compelling about the early part of his life was how passionate an American firster his father was, and he was. That the isolationism that we now see as this sort of somewhat aberration in the Republican Party actually is not an aberration at all. It's the period when it wasn't like that that's the aberration. And what you see in just this one lifetime, really, is a defense of American interests against the rest of the world in his father's pathological about it. It's hatred of Britain, not wanting to be in the World War I, not wanting to be in World War II, the love of Lindbergh. I mean, the embrace of all the most extraordinary isolationist characters in the American historical experience in the early part of the 20th century.
Including anti-Semitism.
Yes.
The Jews and the Jews and the Bolsheviks are one and the same. He picked some of that up in Mexico. Yes, the father was a classic old style. The old right is what the father came out of. And it occurred to me, had the father lived a little longer, he died in 1958 and he'd been ill for a while. If he'd made it another year or two, he would have been at that first founding meeting of the John Birch Society. He was a rich, self-made businessman with right-wing views, and that's who those extremists were back then. Many of them Catholics. It's interesting because you mention also they were cosmopolitan. They spoke languages. They traveled the world. The father read Don Quixote in Spanish and had intellectual friends in Mexico who gave him reading lists. So they're very learned, erudite. Bill Buckley was at home in Paris, in London, in Madrid, in Rome, but they were absolutely fanatical America firsters. And you could say the same is true of Lindbergh, by the way. Mm-hmm. Lindbergh was the man who bound the hemispheres together in that remarkable flight, and then he becomes the symbol of American isolationism. And the Buckleys loved Lindbergh. They were absolutely enamored of him, as many other Americans were.
And they didn't let go of that love at all. I mean, all the way to Pearl Harbor, this family was absolutely stay out of this war.
When Bill Buckley went into the Army, he was inducted along with his two older brothers. The first chance he got when he when he was made a lieutenant, he never served overseas, but he was trained. He in boot camp, he went to officers candidate school, and then he would train new recruits. And the first chance he got, he lectured them on the evils of communist China and Russia and how we shouldn't be involved in the war. He was an isolationist even during the war, never gave it up. And of course, that turned into the unilateralist anti-communism. Arthur Schlesinger was the first to see how those connected. He and Richard Rovere invented the term unilateralism as a joke. Because if you think about it, it's kind of a Monty Python term, unilateralist. I'm a one-sidist,
Right.
And yeah.
but if any country could be that, it would be the United States, with these two vast oceans, this sense of itself as not contaminated with the rest of the world. I mean, it goes back to the very early beginnings, but it's fascinating to see before Pearl Harbor just how potent and how Republican that was, just how much part of the middle of the country, and the business elites of the country